For as long as I can remember, I've been fascinated with the paranormal. Not because I truly believed in it, but because it gave me a thrill. I devoured ghost stories, watched every horror movie I could find, read books about hauntings and demons, and laughed them off when the lights were on. But there was always one line I never crossed. I never went into a cemetery at night. I grew up in a town that's home to one of the most haunted cemeteries in the southern states. My family members are buried there. I'd gone for funerals, I'd gone for visits during the day, but the idea of going there alone at night always felt like asking for trouble. On November 23rd, though, I made a decision I regret more than anything else. I went into that cemetery after dark, and ever since then, my life has been turned inside out. I had lived in my house for 5 years without a single strange experience. No footsteps when no one was home. No objects moving on their own. No whispers in the walls. No shadows that didn't belong. No feeling of being watched. But in the 2 weeks since I stepped into that cemetery at night, all of those things have happened, and worse. That night I was just bored. My son was at his dad's house, my friends were busy, and I was restless. I got into my car and went for a drive, like I often did. Out in the country, the roads are long and winding, and I like to roll the windows down and let the air rush in. But halfway through the drive, I made a sudden decision. I turned down the road to the cemetery. The gate, usually locked, was wide open. I pulled in. The darkness was thick. I parked and stepped out, deciding to stay near my car. People always said strange groups hung out there, so I wasn't going to wander far. It was so quiet that it made me uneasy. In Louisiana, there's always wind, but not that night. The air was still. I sat on a bench near my car, not really sure what I was waiting for. That's when I heard it. A soft voice, a woman's voice, close but not close enough to see. She whispered, "Hi there." I shot up and looked around. No one. The stillness returned, thick enough to choke me. Then something brushed against the back of my neck, too real to be my imagination, too deliberate to ignore. I bolted for my car, locked the doors, and tried to start it. Nothing. The engine was dead. No lights, no movement. Not even the key would turn. My chest tightened with panic. I grabbed my phone to call my dad, but I knew he'd be asleep. I prayed, tried the key again, and this time the car started. Relief washed over me, and I backed all the way down the long driveway. Just before I pulled onto the road, I saw something in the rearview mirror. A figure, standing there, pointing at me. I made it home in record time. 7 minutes instead of 15, sprinted into my house, locked every door, and fell into bed. By morning, I had almost convinced myself it was a dream. The day passed normally, but that night things began again. I set up a bath, put on a face mask and a foot mask, and settled into relaxation. My dog has a bed in the bathroom, so when I heard rustling, I thought nothing of it. When I got up to throw my masks away, though, I froze. My dog was sleeping soundly in the living room. I checked the bathroom. My counter was rearranged. Items I always kept in a strict order were moved. As I stood there, trying to steady myself, my dog began barking furiously at the front door. She stood stiff, growling, barking, at nothing I could see. I looked through the peephole. No one was there. Nothing living, anyway. I grabbed her, shut the bedroom door, and whispered prayers until sleep finally dragged me down. For 3 days, nothing else happened. It was quiet, normal. I told myself it had passed, that maybe I'd imagined it all. But then, while working in my home office, I felt eyes on me. Not one pair, not two, but 100, watching me, pressing in on me. I tried to ignore it, until that all-too-familiar brush against the back of my neck made me jump. I told myself it was exhaustion, shut my laptop, and went to bed. But that night, the voices came, distant, muffled, but inside my bedroom, 2 people talking. I couldn't make out the words, but they were steady, back and forth, as if standing right at the foot of my bed. I lay frozen in terror, until, without warning, The voices cut off mid-sentence, like someone had pulled the plug on reality. I stayed awake for over an hour, but nothing else happened. Finally, I fell into a shallow sleep. That's when the crash ripped me awake. I ran to the bathroom and found everything overturned. The counter cleared, the trash can on its side, the shower curtain ripped down and thrown across the floor. I checked every room. Nothing. No sign of entry. I turned to the security cameras. Every angle was covered. No one had come or gone. Except the bathroom, of course. That was the one place without a camera. The activity eased again, as if toying with me, until Sunday. My ex dropped my son off, and I told him everything. He believed me right away and begged me to leave, to stay at his house with our son. But I said no. I convinced myself we'd be fine. That night, while watching TV, I heard footsteps pacing the hall. Slow, steady. I assumed it was my son, playing one of his games. I let it go. But after 10 minutes, I realized something chilling. My son never tried to scare me without laughing, without giving himself away. I checked his room. He was still playing his video game, exactly where he had been all night. He hadn't moved. He hadn't heard a thing. The week went by, but the activity grew worse. Every morning, the bathroom was in disarray. Every night, voices murmured or faint music played. The feeling of being watched grew stronger, especially in my office. I tried to tell myself it was stress, but deep down, I knew better. And then came last night. Last night was different. Last night, I saw it. I was checking my security cameras before bed. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But no, there it was. A shape, a figure, pale and shifting, moving up and down the hallway. I stared at it, unable to look away, watching it shuffle slowly, endlessly. I don't remember falling asleep, but I do remember waking up, because when I opened my eyes, something had me by the leg. A cold grip, solid, unyielding, pulling. I screamed, and it released me instantly. That was the first time it made real contact. Before, I'd convinced myself that the brush against my neck could be my hair, or static, or even my imagination. But this was real. This was a hand. All day today, nothing has happened. No crashes, no whispers, no shadows. But the silence feels wrong, heavy, like a fog hanging over every room. The house feels occupied, not by one presence, but by many. I don't feel watched anymore. I feel surrounded. They're here, and they don't want to leave. And I don't know how much longer I can stay. If you made it this far, you're braver than most. But tell me, would you dare step into a cemetery at night? Drop your answer in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more true horror stories, and hit the bell so you never miss what's waiting in the dark.